6th Annual Year in Ideas, New York Times Magazine.
December 10, 2006.
The Aerotropolis, Air Index Impressionism,
The Ambient Walkman,
the ballot that is also a lottery ticket, the beer gut flask.
Привет! Сегодня мы рассуждаем.
Today we're discussing Morocco versus Algeria. The two countries had strained relations since 1960s because of the border issues and status of Western Sahara region. Algeria, though larger country geographically, is not much more populated. Both countries have most of their population, economic and industrial centers positioned alongside the coastline. The rest of their area is mostly barren. With Sahara Desert making up most of the Algerian territory, it means little or no battles would be fought there. It is too inhospitable for upkeeping large formations for extended periods there. Algeria does have gas and oil fields here, which may constitute worthwhile acquisition targets, but perhaps easier to access would be these areas, containing untapped oil deposits. Moroccan army has two main tasks. One is protecting its border against Algeria. The other, much bigger one, is enforcing peace in contested Western Sahara region. Polisario rebels have been supported by Algeria during past decades, which has sent supplies and weapons. In a war between Algeria and Morocco, Western Sahara would definitely flare up. Algeria has to fight the Islamist groups which appeared after the end of Algerian civil war in 2002. Many different insurgent groups operate in the whole Maghreb region. Algeria has more issues with them. Still, compared to Polisario, they're much smaller and less organized. But let's get back to the big conflict. The initial disposition of forces would favor Algeria, even though their forces are positioned throughout the country. Monitoring Libyan border is big part of their role. A sizable part of Moroccan forces would have to remain in Western Sahara, and it would take longer for the rest to reposition against Algeria. Morocco could hold its positions at Atlas and Rif mountains, but that would mean effectively giving up these regions to Algeria. Morocco would thus likely use all its bordering units to hold onto these lands, but in the short term they would get outnumbered by Algerian troops. Brunt of the Moroccan army would get channeled from the south, but it would take a week or more. By that time, small pieces of Moroccan land would be taken and some cities besieged. Morocco could overrun Algerian units in Tindouf, but advancing further into Algeria would not be wise. Rushing through the desert into enemy territory with little or no air support would only end in disaster for Morocco. But once Morocco does deploy all its forces, it would enjoy a larger army, a remnant of its Western Sahara needs. The reserve forces, though, are of little value for both sides, as they receive no training. Even some paramilitary units might be more worthwhile than the average mobilized reservist. Despite being larger, Moroccan army is geared against fighting insurgent forces, so it doesn't have as many armored vehicles and tanks. Relative lack of such vehicles would make it hard for Morocco to try and advance quickly, seizing momentum. The disparity in numbers is not as pronounced with artillery, and Morocco does have a technological edge there and more numerous mobile artillery. It completely lacks standoff missiles though. Algeria has several ballistic missile launchers as well as air-launched land attack missiles with terminal guidance. While not precise nor numerous enough to paralyze critical targets in Morocco, they would still neutralize part of Moroccan forces. Air forces-wise, position of Moroccan air bases illustrates their predicament. Their bases are all positioned away from the border, enjoying some safety from surprise attacks in the form of distance. Algerian bases are much more dispersed, having to cover a larger area. Some of them may even succumb to possible early Moroccan raids. Yet the important part of Algerian fighter fleet is positioned more inland. Furthermore, Algerian pilots enjoy more training per year. Numbers are easily on Algerian side, as well as average quality. Moroccan Mirage have been modernized recently and their F-16s are top of the line. But Algerian Sukhois are larger planes, enabling them to use more missiles and a larger radar. Their MiGs are basically Cold War tech, but they're still dangerous against older planes. Another part of the air superiority equation are air defenses. Algeria enjoys a technological edge there. Morocco lacks long-range SAMs completely. With such disparity, Morocco would find it almost impossible to operate over Algeria. At best, it may perform occasional frontline strikes, enduring some losses. Likewise, Algeria would have a harder time operating deep inside Morocco. Not only would it lack its SAM system support, but such incursions would mean surprise would be unlikely. Algerian MiGs' poor range makes them defense interceptors, which means Algeria may not enjoy local numerical superiority deeper inside Morocco. When it comes to ground strikes, Morocco is more multi-role oriented, while Algeria uses a more specialized fleet. Moroccan fleet is better equipped, with modern targeting pods, guided bombs and missiles. Algerian Su-30s lack the targeting pod option, so they either need targets designated by others or they can engage fixed targets on their own. And if Algeria tries to go for coastal targets, Morocco can count on its naval SAM systems, which are actually Morocco's most capable. Of course, Moroccan Navy would have to stick to its shores. Going on offensive would play right into Algerian air superiority and submarine force advantage. Hugging their shores, it could help with air defense, as well as protect against Algerian landings. Those landings may still be possible close to the border if Algerians manage to use their numbers and submarines to form a perimeter, and their air force to protect the beachhead. Algeria also has more naval helicopters, though a careless Algerian submarine may find itself threatened. Still, the naval front would be of secondary importance. Algerian air superiority and relative lack of Moroccan armored vehicles would mean Morocco would be on the defensive. But its mobile artillery forces and its small edge and recon assets would make it quite hard for Algeria to advance in surprise attacks. Both sides have comparable paratrooper units, but Algeria can count on more air transports. Helicopter edge would come especially handy for insertion of troops around Atlas Mountains. Algeria would be pushing slowly inside Morocco, and border cities would eventually fall. Once Moroccan army fully assembles, its numerical advantage and somewhat better actual combat experience would come very handy in defending urban and mountainous locations. Algerian frontline push in the flat regions would be held by its mightier attack helicopter fleet. Basically, Morocco would have to cede this part of its territory to its enemy. Pushing further inside Morocco would be very hard though. Middle Atlas Mountains would negate any hardware edge Algeria might enjoy, and Moroccan numbers would protect the northeast populated region. In a long-term war, Algeria might use its population pool to even out the numbers, and its economy to purchase more equipment. Retaking the western tip of Algeria would be probable, and even pushing all the way here would be possible. But it would come with several times higher casualties. That's something Algeria could not afford, and would likely not attempt. Even if it does, it would eventually reach the choke point between Rif and Middle Atlas Mountains, where Moroccan troops would easily hold off the attackers. In the end, no plausible offensive option for Morocco would mean it could not win. But Algeria would also not be able to crush its opponent. It would have to trade greater casualties for gaining some land. Final verdict: Algerian minor victory. Thanks for watching. If you liked my video, subscribe to my channel. And if you really like my videos, you can even support my work via Patreon. Also, check out my website for polls, video suggestions, and my store, offering some cool t-shirts, mugs, and other stuff. And remember, Binkov may talk about hypothetical wars, but only real peace can bring us all together.
Referee indictment, and last but not least, yes, the cigarette of zealotry. The cigarette of zealotry. 6th Annual Year in Ideas, New York Times Magazine, December 10th, 2006.